Yo, I got 3 different clips here for you guys today showing one particular thing, and that is why you need to be careful if your support does this level 1 and they fail. And even if they do succeed, you still need to be careful, okay? But before we begin, I hope you guys are having a good morning, evening, night, whichever one fits. Shit like that. So yeah, let's get started. So what I will be showing you guys today, this will apply to a lot of champions, including Pike, Morgana, Nautilus, Leona, maybe Blitzcrank, right? Most champions that has hooks, fresh. If they throw the spell level 1 and they miss, you need to be careful. And even if they do hit, you still need to be careful, okay? And I'm going to show you guys today and break this down a little bit so you guys will understand why you need to be careful and perhaps even just retreat and fall back and wait for them to shove it into your lane or to your turret, sorry. Because for one, most of these champions have one thing in common, and that is that they are oftentimes melee. And another thing they share in common is that they often have nothing else to do or follow up, which is why champions like Leona might not even count for this, because she will have Aftershock and she has more of a root if she starts level 1 E, as an example. And Nautilus doesn't really apply here because there's a root. However, it may still apply if he does miss it and he doesn't walk up to a root. But you don't have to be as careful if you're playing with a Nautilus, because he can still root them and keep them in place and still have some active duties here. But the main point is when they throw the spell, they are oftentimes very useless. So after that, though, by staying, you're not really contributing or doing anything. You're just kind of like pretending or bluffing that you can still have some kind of presence in the lane. However, that is not true. And if they dare to challenge that, meaning if they choose to attack you, they cannot do anything back, or you cannot do anything back. And because they're ranged, because they are ranged, and you're melee with a ranged, meaning melee being Pike, ranged being me, they can focus me, right? And at the same time, I have to run away because I have 2 people focusing me, right? And Pike can't consistently attack back because he's melee, okay? So by default, because of something called parallel laning, we will not be able to do anything. So even now at this point here, you see he tries to throw the hook, and you'll see this here. The second he misses or hits, it doesn't matter. They will just walk up because he has nothing more after that to follow with. And if you at that point try to fight them, say he hits that hook and I walk up to attack him, Vayne and Renata will turn on me, and Pike will not be able to do anything. So unless you're playing a very explosive ADC early game like Draven or something, you're not going to be able to outtrade them or put enough pressure out to make them stop attacking you or retreating. So that is what I'm saying. You need to just run away. And as I said, I'm going to show a couple other examples there. And this also applies more with Blitzcrank than Pike even. Because if Blitzcrank, even if he hits the hook, he has nothing more. So sometimes I'll even ask my support to get hooked. And then when they do get hooked, we just turn on them and kill them, right? And that is an easy way, because if you fight them before and he gets the hook mid-fight, that's worse as opposed to if he hooks you at full HP. Because that's when the damage starts. You have full HP, he hooks you. Then you lose almost no HP, and the trade is basically like 0. You're basically at the same starting point, just he doesn't have hook anymore, so you're playing 2v1 instantly, right? So I'm going to show 2 other examples there with Morgana and Blitzcrank, and then we'll end at that, and you guys understand. But before we break this down a bit more here now with other videos, I'm also going to say another thing. Because lanes usually get divided up into 2 different categories. You either have the double range matchup, or you have the 1 melee 1 range matchup. And usually level 1, the double range will almost always be stronger, which is why you have to be more careful against double ranged if you're playing melee range level 1, right? And another reason why high elo players will skill stuff like Play on Fresh, Pool and Morgana, is because the Q and the hook has little to no purpose level 1. And if you do miss it, you have nothing, right? Whereas if you have the Flay, it's more of a defensive tool. It has some more CC applied to it. I mean, of course, the hook is a bit delayed as well, but it also applies the attack damage buff that you can get, or the on-hit damage, right? So it has some more utility in the spell, level 1, which is something you need. Okay. So if you're playing Morgana Sport, that's an example you just need to think about this here. Almost never start Q. It's really stupid. You're meant to start your pool, put on the wave, and then get level 2 first, and then look for the level 2 all in. That's an example with the Q and pool, right? But the main point here again is if you see your sport doing this here, they miss a further hook, you cannot walk up and trade because your sport is then out of the game. They have no spells. So you cannot then go in. So you need to just be careful, okay? And I'm going to show you guys 2 clips now how you can capitalize on this mistake if you're on the reverse, and also show why it's necessary for you to be careful if you are the one that have this support, okay? Because it's not going to be their fault. It's going to be your fault that you try to trade. Because you can think to yourself here, oh, pike hit hook, let's trade, right? But that is wrong, because when you hit the hook here, I go into attack, they both go on me. What does pike do then? Auto attack them, and then maybe go for the all-in. But again, it's most likely not going to work because they can space the pike, and they can also both focus me by pathing as an example up here and avoid pike, right? So under proper play, it's just not going to work at all. And that's why. But yeah, we're going to go to the second clip now and then to the third one. Alright, so here we have the example with the Morgana. And there's a couple of other things here too, just quickly. This has to do with parallel laning and other things too. But it also just shows how useless a person can be, or a champion, if all they have is one ability that they will try to go for, right? And Morgana is trying to go for the Q here, right? And as long as she doesn't hit or miss that, or even try, she will just die, right? So in this situation here, where she would have hit the Q, or tried to hit the Q, and missed it, the same scenario would have happened. Of course, they're playing double ranged here. However, as you can see, she walked up to me and just took damage, right? And in a ranged melee matchup, if that was an example Pike, maybe, the same thing would happen. Because they wouldn't be able to trade until they're in melee range, right? So this just shows why this is bad. And also just displays why you should always start the pool on Morgana, because you'll get the level 2 push, right? And you don't have to walk up and do these bad trades that she's trying to do here. And then we have the Blitzcrank example. And you'll see, even in a situation where it turns out very badly, just by staying on them and continuing to attack them after they've engaged and not running away, they do not have the second champion because he's melee, he has no spells, he has nothing, right? So the second the hook is down, even if he hits it, or at least he hits the right target, and the ADC, as an example, still gets to attack the other ADC, they will lose. And this will happen in almost every single situation and scenario. It doesn't matter who. If it's Kalista or Twitch, as I said, right? Because this is mostly leaning towards if you're playing Twitch with someone and you are the one that has the Blitzcrank in the team and he misses the hook, you need to just walk back because you will get punished. As you see here, Blitzcrank just has to run away. He has nothing, right? So you have to be careful, level 1. If your support goes for these plays, you need to think about this. And that is all. Okay? And just try to think for yourself. And the reason why one of the champions that's kind of exempt from this is Nautilus is because he has more tools. He has the root. So even if he misses it, he can still pin you down and maintain that melee range and have some kind of other purpose as opposed to the Blitzcrank here or the Morgana, right? And of course, Morgana's more squishy. Regardless, just keep in mind whenever you play with these kind of champions and they throw the spell level 1 and you know that they don't really have anything else, you need to just back off and respect the lane. Especially, and I mean especially if you're playing against double ranged and you are the one that has one melee and one ranged. Because as I said in the Morgana one, parallel laning means that you can both trade at the same time against one person because you're positioned in such a way that you can do that. But it becomes even harder when you have one melee, one range to do that. Because as I said, the melee has to be in range to do that. And in most situations, they can't maintain or continue to attack or do anything. So in most situations, it'll just end up being a 2v1 at level 1. And that's how and why you can also win most level 1s sometimes by playing this properly and having the wave advantage and just playing those key moments early game right can lead you kills against ranged melee so many times as opposed to the other way around. Because they will always, or most likely always, have the advantage if they play correctly, around the bushes, the minions, and they don't get pushed in. Right, but yeah, that's it. Hope you guys continue to have a good morning, evening, night, whichever one fits shit like that. So yeah, take care. Hope you learned something. Peace.